Chapter 11. Force, Light and Sound. Learning Objectives. Force, light, transparent, translucent and opaque objects, movement of light and shadow, friction, sound. Force. Early in the morning, when an alarm clock rings, how do you stop it? When you want to open the door of your room, what do you do? When you go to school, how do you carry your bag? You need to pull, push, or lift these things. A push or a pull is called force. It helps us to do many things. You apply force on any object to change its position or direction. Non-living things cannot move on their own. A force has to act upon them to move them. Force can do many things. Force can move an object. When you play football, you have to kick it to make it move. A force can stop a moving object. A goalkeeper stops the football to prevent a goal. Force can change the direction of a moving object. A batter touches a moving ball with his bat to change its direction. Force can change the shape of an object. When you press clay, what happens? It changes its shapes. Force can change the speed of a moving object. When you want to increase the speed of your bicycle, you pedal it fast. Friction. Take a football and roll it on the ground. Observe for a while and see what happens. The ball moves for a while and then slows down and finally it stops. Why does it stop? It is because another force is applied on it which slows down the speed of the ball and stops it. This stopping force is called friction. Light. What happens when there is a power cut in your house at night? Would you be able to read and write in dark room? Would you be able to see the things around you? No. Until you light a candle or a torch, you cannot see anything. Without light, we cannot see anything around us. The main source of light on the earth is the sun. We get light from other sources like torch, bulb, candle, star, lamps, etc. These sources of light are called luminous objects. Luminous objects have their own light and they give out light. Luminous objects like the sun, stars, etc. are natural sources of light. Other sources like bulbs, tube lights, lamps, candles, and torches are called man-made sources of light. Some objects do not have their own light and they do not give out light. These are called non-luminous objects. For example, Earth, other planets, trees, mountains, tables, chairs, glasses, pencils, etc. Non-luminous objects become visible only when light falls on them. Transparent, translucent, and opaque objects. Transparent objects. Transparent objects are those objects that allow light to pass through them. We can see through them. For example, glasses, clear plastic sheets, water, etc. We use transparent glass in windows to get sunlight into our houses. Translucent objects. Translucent objects are those objects that allow light to pass through them partially. We cannot see through them clearly, for example, frosted glass, oiled paper, colored plastic sheets, etc. We use translucent frosted glass in the windows of our bathrooms. Opaque objects. Opaque objects are those objects that do not allow any light to pass through them. We cannot see through them. For example, wood, paper, rocks, metals, cloth, etc. We use curtains made of opaque cloth to cover the windows and doors. Movement of light and shadows. Light travels in a straight line. We can see the rays of light coming through a small hole as a beam of light. If an opaque object is placed in its path, a shadow of that object is formed behind it. You might have seen your own shadow on the ground or on the wall. It happens when you stand in the sun or in the front of a luminous object. Shadow is always formed on the opposite side of the source of light. Shadow of an object is always black in color irrespective of the color of the object. The size of the shadow can vary. It can be the same as the size of the object or smaller or larger. It depends on the distance between the source of light and the object. Did you know when the moon comes in between the earth and the sun, it obstructs the light of the sun and the sun cannot be seen. This is called a solar eclipse. Similarly, when the earth comes in between the sun and the moon, it obstructs the light of the sun and the moon cannot be seen. This is called a lunar eclipse. Sound. We hear sound of chirping birds, horns of vehicles, barking of dogs, ringing doorbells, etc. throughout the day. When we talk and laugh, it produces sound. Leaves also make a rustling sound when wind blows. We hear different kinds of sounds. Some of them are pleasant. Pleasant sounds make us happy. We do not get irritated by them. For example, chirping of birds, someone singing, sound of musical instrument, etc. Some sounds are unpleasant. Unpleasant sound irritates us. They are not good to listen. For example, vehicles honking, loud sound from factories, etc. Such sounds are called noise. Did you know sound cannot travel in vacuum? It needs a medium to travel through. How is sound produced? Sound is produced when something vibrates. When the strings of guitar are plucked, they vibrate and produce sound. Similarly, when we hit a drum with a drumstick, it vibrates the skin stressed on the drum and produces sound. We can hear all these sounds because these sound waves create vibration on our ear. Keywords: force, a push or a pull. Friction, the force that slows down the movement of an object. Luminous, an object that has a light of its own. Non-luminous, an object that does not have its own light. Transparent, an object through which light can pass. Opaque, an object through which light cannot pass. Vibrate, move back and forth very fast. Chapter Roundup. A push or a pull is a force. Friction is a force that stops an object. Light always travels in a straight line. Luminous objects have their own light. They give out light. Non-luminous objects do not have their own light. They do not give out light. Objects are of three types: transparent, translucent, and opaque. Shadow is formed only when an opaque object blocks the path of light. Sound can be pleasant or unpleasant. Unpleasant sound is called noise. Sound is produced when something vibrates.